Thank you for joining us. I'm Kyla Scott. Our top story tonight, did you know that Monroe was briefly the home of a Major League Baseball team? NBC 10's Joel Massey has more on that history as we are honoring the local stories of Black History Month. Hey, Joel.
Hey, Kyla. Between the late 1920s and 1935, Monroe Monarchs played in the Negro Leagues, enjoying success at Casino Park, which sat next to the present site of Carroll High School. I had the opportunity to speak with a historian who grew up in Monroe about the brief history of the team. Thomas Aiello, professor of history and Africana studies at Valdosta State University in Georgia, wrote a book called The Kings of Casino Park, Black Baseball in the Lost Season of 1932. He tells me what he's learned about the Monroe Monarchs.
In 1932, they played in the Negro World Series, the only team from Louisiana to ever play in a World Series. They were only a major league team for one season, but in that season, not only were they incredibly successful on the field, but they brought the entire city together, even playing to integrated crowds at Casino Park.
Due to the Great Depression, the Negro League was shut down for 1 year.
For 1932, all of those major league players needed somewhere to go, and so they came down to what was then known as the Negro Southern League. And Monroe, because it had won the minor leagues in 1931, had moved up into the Negro Southern League for 1932, the 1 year that it happened to be a major league.
The Monroe Monarchs experienced so much success that they made it to the unofficial Negro World Series, playing arguably the greatest team that ever existed.
And the 1932 Pittsburgh Crawfords are generally considered to be the greatest baseball team, white, black, or otherwise, that has ever existed. I mean, they had Hall of Famers at almost every position. And Monroe played them in the World Series in 1932. There were special train cars that came from all over the South to come watch these games. Everybody flocked to Monroe. Monroe ended up playing some of those games, obviously, in Pittsburgh, where the Crawfords played. And even though the Monarchs lost that World Series, their participation in it and their competition with the greatest baseball team that has ever played kind of stands as this testament to what could happen in a place like Monroe when given the opportunity.
The success of the team created an eagerness for whites to interact with the Negro League Baseball, with as many as half of the grandstand seats at Casino Park reserved for white patrons. And the Monarchs have an important but brief place in the history of Monroe. For your ArkLaMiss news source, I'm Joel Massey.